say good things about Meghan Markle because right now we're at the tail end of BLM and you can't insult a woman who's doesn't even, if I'm looking objectively.
Meghan Markle victim. So let's take care of Elon Musk, and then the rest of us will be convinced that this pretty princess is having a real...
Meghan is a trained actress. What she does is that she studies people. She's not a good actress, but she is a trained one, right? She's been doing it her entire life.
Candace Owens recently shared some interesting observations about Meghan Markle's birth experience that have people talking. A hospital insider who was present during the events has also come forward with their own account of what happened. When you compare their version with what's in Harry's memoir, some details seem to conflict. Healthcare professionals who've reviewed the timeline are pointing out certain inconsistencies. It's one of those situations where the more you look into it, the more questions seem to emerge.
The bump indeed did drop, and I will pin for you the exact moment that it did. If we're able to capture...
People are starting to wonder if there might be more to the experience than what we initially heard. If you enjoy looking at stories from different angles and hearing various perspectives on current topics, you'll want to subscribe and turn on notifications. We often cover stories that spark discussion and analysis, so staying subscribed means you won't miss out on interesting content like this. A like on this video helps us know you're interested in this type of content. We're going to walk through the different accounts and see what people are saying from various viewpoints.
It wasn't a tabloid rumor. It wasn't speculation whispered across dinner tables or stirred up by social media users.
It should be an interesting discussion, so let's get started. In his memoir, Spare, Harry shares personal details about Archie's birth experience. He mentions that Meghan had 2 epidurals during her time at Portland Hospital, and they were able to return home to Frogmore Cottage within 2 hours of the birth. When you consider this time frame, it's quite remarkable. The drive from Portland Hospital in central London to their home in Windsor usually takes about an hour under normal conditions. So within that remaining hour,
the British monarchy is faced with a legitimacy crisis not seen in modern times. Archie and Lilibet, currently in the
quite a lot would have happened. The delivery itself, the immediate care for both Meghan and baby Archie, any necessary wellness checks, and getting ready for the trip home. People who work in maternity care find this timeline noteworthy. Typically, after epidural procedures, there's a period where care staff like to keep an eye on how the patient is feeling as the medication effects fade. Most hospitals have their own standard practices for how long they prefer patients to stay for observation.
I feel played. Hello, my friend. Perez Hilton here, the queen of all media, the original...
Harry also describes some challenges during the delivery. He writes about Archie's head becoming positioned differently, which added complexity to the birth. Usually when there are any complications during delivery, care teams prefer to take their time and make sure both mother and baby are doing well before anyone heads home. Portland Hospital is well regarded for the level of care they provide. They have a reputation for being very attentive to their patients' needs and following comprehensive care practices. Private hospitals like Portland typically have well-established procedures they like to follow for post-delivery care.
They asked, "Where's the mother?" And all they got was silence. Tonight, an explosive development shakes the...
Most birth experiences, even straightforward ones, involve several hours where care staff monitor both mother and baby. They usually want to see how feeding is going, make sure everyone's vital signs are stable, and ensure there are no immediate concerns. Harry's account of their experience has generated interest because it represents a different approach from what many people might expect for a typical hospital stay after delivery. As Harry and Meghan navigated announcing Archie's birth, they shared different thoughts about how they handled communication with the press.
Persistent rumours that she's not a mum and never has been. Just when the difficult Duchess wanted all the talk of her fake baby.
It's interesting to hear the various perspectives they've offered about what was going through their minds during such an important time. One thing they mentioned was thinking about the practical side of things. They were concerned about creating too much activity at the hospital that might make things difficult for other patients or families who needed care. It's actually quite thoughtful when you think about it, considering how their choices might affect other people during what could be important moments for those families too. They also talked about their relationship with the media at that time. They'd been having some challenging experiences with press coverage.
Meghan has spent years accusing the media of twisting the truth, painting herself as a victim of false stories.
And those feelings naturally influenced how they wanted to approach sharing news about their new baby. Many parents can probably relate to wanting to protect those precious early moments with their newborn from outside pressures. Interestingly, there was also mention that they had followed the usual process of notifying the press, but things didn't unfold quite the way they typically do with royal announcements. Sometimes, even when you follow the expected steps, the results can be different from what you anticipate.
What if the world watched a royal pregnancy that never actually happened? In a stunning twist just revealed, King Charles's...
What strikes me about these different explanations is that they probably all capture real thoughts and feelings they were having. When you're new parents dealing with such a significant moment while also being in the public eye, there are likely many different emotions and considerations happening at the same time. Royal families do have certain traditions around how birth announcements are typically handled. The Queen is usually kept informed when family members are having babies, which makes sense for such important family news.
What if the world watched a royal pregnancy that never actually happened? In a stunning twist just revealed, King Charles's...
These traditions have developed over time to help coordinate between family members and ensure everyone stays connected during big moments. The Royal Protection Team also has their own ways of handling these special occasions. They work to make sure everyone stays safe while trying to respect the family's wishes and honor traditional practices. It must be quite a balancing act to coordinate all these different needs and expectations when you're managing such a personal experience while also...
What if the child the world believed to be Meghan Markle's never came from her womb? Tonight,
being part of an institution with established ways of doing things, it makes sense that there would be lots of different factors to consider and work through together. Let me tell you a bit about Portland Hospital, because understanding this place really helps paint a picture of what Harry and Meghan's experience would have been like. Portland has quite a reputation in London. It's one of those places that families often choose when they want something special for their birth experience. What's really interesting about Portland is how they've positioned themselves in the healthcare world.
What started as internet conspiracy slowly morphed into underground speculation, and now has taken center stage as a very...
Instead of trying to be everything to everyone like those larger hospitals, they've made a smart decision to focus on what they do best: women's health and having babies. It's kind of like how some restaurants choose to perfect a few dishes rather than having a massive menu. They've got some pretty impressive facilities there. Their neonatal intensive care unit is excellent for little ones who need some extra help after they're born. And their enhanced maternal care unit is designed for moms who might need a bit more attention during pregnancy or delivery. You can tell they've really thought about what families need.
Back in 2019, Meghan Markle was expecting her first child. Friends at the time claimed that Meghan had thought about giving birth
during this important time. Here's something that's actually pretty clever about how Portland works. When they encounter situations that need specialized care outside their wheelhouse, they have great relationships with other hospitals around London. It's like having a network of specialist friends you can call when you need expertise in different areas. This way, everyone gets exactly the right kind of care for their specific situation. What really sets Portland apart is the experience they create for families.
Then, why would you accept as a media pack, as a royal road?
Walking into Portland feels more like entering a beautiful hotel than a hospital. The rooms are beautifully designed, the amenities are high quality, and the staff really focus on making sure families feel comfortable and cared for. It's easy to see why people choose this kind of experience. The attention to detail at Portland is something you notice right away. From the elegant room furnishings to the personalized service, everything is designed to make this special time feel even more special. For many families, this approach to healthcare feels much more appealing than the sometimes less personal experience you might have at a larger facility.
Whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is...
This is the kind of place where having a birth experience, like Harry describes, makes perfect sense. It's designed for families who want something exceptional and are used to having their preferences respected. You know, when Harry talks about Meghan having 2 epidurals during Archie's birth, it's one of those details that gets people in the healthcare field talking. Not in a critical way, but more like, that's interesting. Let me explain what we usually see. So let me walk you through how epidurals typically work, and you'll understand why this caught people's attention.
Tabloid turmoil. The curious case of Meghan Markle's fake birth certificate. In the ever-evolving saga,
Think of an epidural as setting up a dedicated pain relief system during labor. What happens is the healthcare team places this incredibly thin, flexible tube called a catheter in just the right spot near the spine. Once that's in place, it becomes like having a direct line for delivering pain medication throughout the entire labor experience. The really wonderful thing about this system is how flexible it is for the mom. The healthcare team can adjust everything through that same catheter.
Let's make a show.
Let's go. I've always loved taking.
Turn up the medication when contractions get intense, dial it back when it's time to push and she wants to feel more, or keep it steady throughout. It's all managed through that one placement, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. So, when healthcare folks hear about 2 epidurals, they find it interesting because that would mean the team had to remove the first catheter completely and then do the whole procedure over again from scratch. Now, could this happen? Sure, but it would be like calling a plumber to install a second water line to your sink instead of just adjusting the water pressure on the one you already have.
Harry and his clout-chasing wife Meghan Markle are being rocked by a surrogacy scandal, said sources.
It's possible, but you'd really need a specific reason to go that route. Harry also mentions using the nitrous oxide, the laughing gas that was set up for Meghan. This part makes people smile because anyone who's worked in a delivery room knows how carefully that medication is usually monitored. The healthcare staff typically keeps a pretty close eye on who's using what and how much. It's not that these things couldn't happen, it's just that they describe a birth experience that sounds quite different from what most healthcare professionals encounter in their day-to-day work.
Let's talk about one of the weirdest royal baby rollouts we've ever seen, the birth of Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor.
And honestly, that's what makes birth stories so interesting. Every single one is unique in its own way. When healthcare folks chat about these details, it's really coming from a place of professional curiosity rather than doubt. They're just comparing notes, so to speak, between what they know from their experience and what they're hearing about this particular birth story. You know what's really interesting about Harry's story? The part where he mentions they were back home just 2 hours after Archie was born. It's gotten people in healthcare chatting because
Buckingham Palace has declined to comment on these claims so far, but this, of course, is the answer to the question that everyone has been asking since.
Well, let me tell you what usually happens in those precious first hours after a baby arrives. It's actually pretty fascinating stuff. Picture this. You've just had a baby and suddenly there's this whole flurry of activity. The healthcare team wants to make sure both you and your little one are doing great. There's all this excitement about first feedings, and honestly, those first few hours are just magical, but also pretty busy. Most hospitals really value this time because it's when they can help new families get their bearings and feel confident about this amazing new journey they're on.
All right, so get this. There's a woman out there claiming she's not just some surrogate for Harry and Meghan. She said,
"Here's what typically happens, and this might surprise you. Even when everything goes beautifully during delivery, most places like to have new moms stay around for about a day or two. I know it sounds like a long time, but there's actually so much going on. They're checking how you're feeling, making sure breastfeeding is going well, and just being there for all those, wait, is this normal? Questions that every new parent has. Now, when you've had an epidural, which, let's be honest, is a godsend during labor,
let's talk about one of the weirdest royal baby rollouts we've ever seen. The birth of Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor.
healthcare folks usually want to wait a bit longer before you head home. They want to make sure you've got all your feeling back in your legs and you're steady on your feet. It's kind of thoughtful, actually. They just want to make sure you're feeling confident when you're carrying your precious cargo around at home. Harry mentions there were some challenging moments during the delivery with how Archie was positioned, but it sounds like the healthcare team handled everything beautifully. When things get a little complex during birth, even when everything turns out perfectly,
there's something deeply unsettling when a story, one that's been carefully shaped for years, starts to fall apart under the weight of...
most hospitals tend to say, you know what, let's just keep an eye on you both a little longer. It's like having that extra support, which most new parents really appreciate. And if you've had a C-section, oh my goodness, that's a whole different experience. You're talking about 3 to 4 days typically, because you're recovering from surgery on top of everything else. Your body needs time to heal, and honestly, most moms are grateful for that extra care during those first few days. What I find really interesting is that those first couple of days after birth can be full of surprises.
Ongoing saga of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. A hospital is now facing legal action over claims that they falsely reported the births of the...
Sometimes things come up that nobody expected, which is why most hospitals have gotten into the habit of having families stay around a bit. It's not because they expect problems, it's more like having a really knowledgeable friend nearby just in case. Now, Portland Hospital is one of those places that's known for being really flexible with what families want and need. It sounds like Harry and Meghan had one of those smooth, wonderful experiences that made an early trip home feel just right for their family.
Hold on tight because Meghan Markle is outraged as Tom Bauer drops a bombshell. Archie and Lilet may not even exist.
You know what adds a really interesting dimension to this whole story? Meghan was 37 when she had Archie, and that little detail actually tells us quite a bit about what her birth experience might have looked like from a healthcare perspective. Now, here's something that might surprise you. When moms are 35 or older, healthcare providers have this whole different approach they like to follow. It's not because there's anything wrong or concerning about having babies at that age. Tons of women do it and have absolutely beautiful experiences.
Get ready, because this bombshell could change everything. We stand on the edge of a story that could shake the very pillars of Britain's monarchy.
It's just that medical teams have learned over the years that a little extra attention and support during pregnancy and delivery can make everything go even more smoothly. What I absolutely love about Harry's description is how peaceful and beautiful he makes their birth experience sound. Picture this: Meghan bouncing on a birthing ball, soft candles flickering around the room, this whole zen wellness vibe happening. Honestly, it sounds like exactly the kind of magical, intimate birth experience that so many couples dream about having.
Those chaotic royal moments that just refuses to die down. Prince Archie's birth. Not because of the baby.
And you know what? There's something really wonderful about being able to create that kind of serene environment when you're bringing your baby into the world. That focus on natural rhythm and peaceful surroundings can make the whole experience feel so much more personal and meaningful for families. Here's where it gets interesting from a healthcare perspective, though. When medical teams are working with moms who are 37, they often like to have a few more support measures in place. Kind of like having extra tools in the toolkit just in case.
Stomach is fake. where the baby, I swear.
A woman has stepped forward claiming she was paid to carry Archie and then...
It's not that they expect any issues, but they found that being a little more prepared can help everyone feel more confident about how things are going. So you might wonder how healthcare providers balance what families really want, like that beautiful, natural birth environment, with what they've learned works best medically. It's actually a really thoughtful process where they try to honor the family's vision while making sure they've got everything covered from a healthcare standpoint. Harry mentions that during the delivery, Archie's positioning...
This didn't have to spiral out of control. At any point, Meghan and Harry could have shut it all down. A simple statement, a candid photo.
...presented some challenges that the healthcare team handled really well. It's actually pretty amazing how skilled birth teams are at managing these kinds of situations and keeping everything moving forward smoothly. Different hospitals have their own ways of approaching this balance. Some places are really flexible and creative about accommodating natural birth preferences, while others might lean a bit more toward having all their medical monitoring systems readily available. Both approaches can work beautifully. It really depends on what feels right for each family and their specific situation.
Reviews, magazine covers, and official biographies. Born on August 4th, 1981, in Los...
What I find most beautiful about birth stories is how each family and their healthcare team create something that's uniquely theirs, finding that sweet spot between the experience they're hoping for and making sure everyone stays healthy and happy throughout the whole journey. You know, one of the things that really adds depth to this whole conversation is when we hear about preeclampsia being part of Meghan's birth experience. This is actually a really important health condition to understand because it helps us appreciate what families might go through during this time. Preeclampsia is one of those conditions that healthcare providers...
In a revelation that's sending shockwaves across both social media and the royal watching world, a woman
keep a very close eye on because it involves elevated blood pressure and can affect both mom and baby. What's really remarkable is how skilled healthcare teams have become at managing this condition. They have specific approaches for monitoring and treatment that help ensure the best possible outcomes for families. When preeclampsia is part of the picture, healthcare teams typically focus on careful delivery timing if it occurs during pregnancy, and then really attentive follow-up care afterward. The whole approach is designed around making sure...
No wonder Meghan Markle's fake pregnancy video is causing a major controversy online. It all started when she posted a video.
Both mother and baby get exactly the support they need during this important time. What really helps me understand this condition better is hearing from other families who've been through similar experiences. There's a woman who had her baby at Portland Hospital a few years back, and she's been open about her journey with postpartum preeclampsia, the kind that can develop after delivery. Her story is actually pretty inspiring in terms of how well the healthcare team supported her through the whole process. When her blood pressure needed attention, her healthcare team responded quickly with the specialized care she needed.
Meghan is not Archie and Lilibet's mother. Meghan's father claimed before her wedding to Harry that she had lost her uterus and couldn't have kids.
She talks about how the treatment was intensive, but she really appreciated having such dedicated healthcare support. What impressed her most was how attentive the hospital staff were throughout her stay. They kept a close eye on how she was doing, regularly checking her vital signs and making sure her recovery was progressing well. It sounds like she felt really cared for during what could have been a challenging time. She ended up staying in the hospital for several days, while her healthcare team made sure everything was heading in the right direction.
Just can't quite see his face.
Then, just 3 days on.
Notice how when they are...
The healthcare providers wanted to be absolutely certain that her condition had stabilized and that she was ready for the transition home with her new baby. What strikes me about her experience is how much personalized attention and healthcare support her situation required. Her healthcare team was really thorough about monitoring her progress and making sure she had everything she needed for a safe recovery. This kind of firsthand experience from another family who went through preeclampsia at the same hospital.
Did anyone notice Meghan's baby bump looking strange?
Did she really give birth to Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet herself?
Really helps us understand the level of healthcare and attention that this condition typically involves. It gives us insight into why healthcare providers are usually quite thorough about monitoring and discharge planning when preeclampsia is part of someone's birth story. Stories like this help explain why people who work in healthcare find it interesting to discuss different approaches to managing this condition and the various ways families experience recovery from it. You know what's really fascinating when you step back and look at this whole story? It's not just one thing that catches your attention.
Meghan Markle is accused of not giving birth to her son. Since the birth of their son Archie, Meghan Markle...
It's how all these different pieces come together to create this really intriguing puzzle that has people wondering and talking. And so here's something that really surprised a lot of people. In those first few weeks after Archie was born, Harry and Meghan were living what can only be described as a pretty amazing lifestyle. Traveling to see friends like Elton John, enjoying getaways, attending exclusive events. I mean, that sounds absolutely wonderful, and honestly, good for them if they were feeling up to it. But here's what makes it so interesting to people who've had babies.
See what I brought you? It's different than what I've ever brought you before. Are you excited?
Most of us are barely functioning those first few weeks, let alone ready to pack a suitcase and take trips, especially after what Harry describes as a more involved birth experience. This level of energy and mobility is pretty impressive. It's the kind of recovery that would make any new mom a little envious. Then there are these little details from Harry's story that just make you go, that's curious. Like when he talks about going out of the hospital at 2 a.m. to get food for Meghan. Now, anyone who knows Portland Hospital knows they're famous for their incredible food service. We're talking gourmet meals available any time of day or night. It's actually one of their selling points. So it's interesting that he'd venture out into the London night when room service was just a phone call away. And then there's this whole thing about the special elevator they use to make their discreet exit. It sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? But when other families who've had their babies at Portland hear this, they're kind of like, oh, wait, what's special elevator? Most people just walk out the regular way like you would at any hospital.
This extraordinary happening was featured by Getty Images, so there is no doubt that
It's one of those details that makes you wonder if maybe there's more to the story. Here's another thing that's gotten people curious. There was some initial confusion about which doctor actually delivered Archie. At first, reports named one doctor, but then it turned out she wasn't involved at all. It's the kind of mix-up that makes you wonder how these details get reported and whether other information might have gotten mixed up along the way. What I find really interesting is that even people close to the situation...
No, it was a woman in her kitchen, yelling, frustrated, unfiltered, and worse, allegedly yanked...
sometimes tell different versions of the same events. Like when Harry shares his account of certain things, and then friends or family members remember them differently. It's actually pretty normal. We all remember things through our own lens. But it does add another layer to the whole story. What strikes me most about all of this is how these various elements have kept people so engaged and curious. It's like this really compelling puzzle where each piece makes you more interested in seeing how everything fits together.
The couple from public accountability. There is also the question no one dares say aloud, but which now looms louder than ever.
Whether it's the remarkably quick recovery, the logistical details that make you pause, or the way different people remember things differently, it all adds up to a birth story that's definitely unique and has certainly captured people's imagination. Wow, what a journey we've been on together today. Diving into all these different aspects has been absolutely fascinating, and I hope you found it as thought-provoking as I have. When you look at everything we've talked about, those medical timelines that got healthcare folks discussing, the hospital details that seem unique.
She's the Duchess of Montecito, y'all. She can call herself whatever she wants. And Harry is clearly on board with the suspect.
That incredibly impressive recovery story. It creates such an interesting picture to think about. What I love most is how each piece helps us understand why this birth experience has captured so many people's imagination. The epidural situation that made professionals go, that's interesting. The super quick departure, that's different from most experiences. The preeclampsia followed by amazing travel. That late-night food adventure from a hospital famous for incredible room service. The elevator story that has other families curious.
Or a cover-up that could change everything we know about Archie and the royal line itself? Stay with us as we unpack.
When you put them all together, you can see why people find this story so engaging. It's a birth narrative that feels quite different from what most of us experience. One where everything flows perfectly according to plan. That's exactly why the perspectives we've explored are so valuable. From Candace Owens sharing her observations to that hospital insider opening up about her real experience, they're adding pieces to help us understand why certain details stand out. Birth stories are all incredibly different and personal. Every family has their own unique adventure.
I wouldn't think she would be prepared to take on the rap on her own. Some are
with different challenges and recovery experiences. Some have amazingly smooth experiences, others go through complex journeys. We've looked at one family's account through the eyes of different people with their own expertise. Whether these observations resonate with you or you think this family had a wonderfully positive experience, the conversation shows our natural curiosity about the narratives we encounter. What do you think after our time together today? I'm genuinely excited to hear your thoughts in the comments. These discussions are so much richer when we hear from different people with different perspectives. If you've enjoyed this thoughtful exploration, I would absolutely love it if you'd subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're always diving into stories from interesting angles and looking at topics that spark great conversations. Thank you for spending this time exploring these viewpoints together. Keep that curious mind active. Keep asking great questions about the stories we hear. And remember that looking at things from multiple angles makes everything so much more interesting.